Marvel's Rivals is a third-person hero shooter. It's kind of like Overwatch, but with all the Marvel characters, and of course it's third-person instead of first-person. In terms of the gameplay, it's actually a lot more than Overwatch. It's perhaps got the biggest roster of characters and playstyles I've seen in a hero shooter. I'm actually having a blast with this game so far. A job well done in pretty much every aspect of the game. The game really feels unique with the massive roster of characters and all the different skills they have. There's just so many different ways to play this game. The game feels really smooth to play. Almost every character's skills, their movements, it just all feels really good and well put together. The game also feels balanced, which can be hard to do for a game like this. You of course have to be a hero shooter or a third-person shooter fan to enjoy this. Some that are going to be jumping in just by seeing that Marvel universe on it might not actually like the gameplay. This is also a good looking game, and there are differences in the way it looks on all the current gen consoles. It's also only on the current gen, so PS4 and Xbox One players are gonna miss out. Xbox Series S is the weakest hardware it runs on, and on the Series S the graphics are quite a bit dumbed down. There's gonna be missing objects, there's none of that lumens or advanced lighting and reflections, and of course the resolution is quite a bit lower compared to the more powerful consoles. Xbox Series X and PS5 both do look similar. The standard 60 FPS mode does feature lumens. There is some decent quality in terms of the lighting and reflections as well. Both of these consoles are pretty much identical with 4K dynamic resolution, and the native is likely around 1600p. The PS5 Pro takes things up another level. On the Pro, there's this dedicated Pro mode instead of that standard on the regular consoles. The Pro mode does have slightly sharper looking image quality. It's gonna look closer to 4K with that PSSR upscaling. The edges, the surfaces, they look a lot smoother. The lighting, the reflections also seem to be increased and more realistic. Now, after seeing all of this, you're going to notice that the difference between the Series S and the other consoles, it's fairly significant. But the jump from the Series X and PS5 to the PS5 Pro, I mean, that's not huge. Most people likely won't even notice it unless you kind of point out the differences to them. In terms of the performance and FPS, Xbox Series S only gets that one default mode. There's really no graphic selection on the Series S. That mode runs at 60 FPS and it's pretty much a solid lock 60 without any drops. You might see a single drop here and there, but 99% of the time it's a solid lock performance. The Xbox Series S calls this 60 FPS mode standard, and it does run the game well as well. There's no performance issues, no screen tearing, and the counter is gonna say 60 at almost all times. PlayStation 5 is the same story. In that standard mode, it's a solid lock 60 FPS as well. The PS5 Pro does have that Pro mode instead of standard, and this does target 60 as well, and it is also a solid lock 60 FPS without any performance issues. Now let's talk about that 120Hz mode. It's called high frame rate mode, and it's only available on the Series X, PS5, and PS5 Pro. So Series S does not get that 120 mode. You do need a 120Hz compatible display to play in that high frame rate mode. The target here is 120 FPS. I'm showing FPS testing on the Series X here, and there are of course drops. The drops aren't huge. I mean, you'll see above 115 FPS most of the time, but don't expect a solid 120 on the Series X. Average is likely around 117. The PlayStation 5, this is the regular one, also gets at 120 mode, and the PS5 seems to be slightly worse than the Series X. You'll get drops below 110 FPS quite often, and that average seems to be around 112 on the regular PS5. The last console I looked at here is the PS5 Pro. 120Hz is shown here on that console. This is of course meant to be the most powerful hardware out of the bunch, and it kind of shows in this 120 mode. The frame rate here is pretty much a solid locked 120 FPS. There may be some minor single drops here, but it's rare, and my counter pretty much shows 120 at pretty much all times. So the PS5 Pro is, as expected, the clear winner, while the Xbox Series X comes in second place. And that's what you need to know about Marvel Rivals on Xbox Series S versus X versus PS5 versus PS5 Pro. I do recommend you check this game out. It is free to play. I'm going to leave you with some more gameplay on all the different consoles with that FPS counter shown, so check that out.
Maximum pulse! Last minute miracle. Nobody can hang with the pulse cannon! All systems smash! Bombs away!
Behold the god of thunder!
I don't think that's the welcoming committee.
Leave them to consume! Bad consequences.
Hold still. I'm trying to help. Hits the ground heavy.
Sweet moves, right? I hope I got that on video. Oh, did you see that? Watch out! They got a sniper. Eat elements.
I like the cold.
Watch your step.
You stop them in their tracks. It's okay. Admit it. You need me.
Maximum pulse! That's what happens when you pick a fight with protons. Rockets, fire! What do I hit next? I'm taking requests.
You'll have to keep fighting until we have a winner.
Nobody can hang with the pulse.
Double
Punisher turns itself into a weapon.
Get that checkpoint. Momentum.
Lend a hand. Now, a disappearing act.